Will I be on camera if I'm checking my phone? Yeah.
Yes.
We'll make sure of it.
Sorry, I'm trying to fact check.
But that's okay. If you need to look at your, as long as you're not looking at it,
Just give me 10 seconds.
Okay.
10, 9.
So sorry, who's starting?
Yes.
Genevieve is
Okay.
intro.
Yes.
And then we'll just jump right in.
Uh-oh.
Welcome back to Sam and Jen Got Divorced. We are here again with another great episode for you where we are discussing the fundamentals about marriage and divorce. We have a little saying around here, around these parts. Our marriage didn't work, but maybe our podcast will. So we thank you for joining us. And along with you today, we've got Joel Witten and we've got Jeffrey Yanef. And we are excited to have them co-host with us and have a conversation about who carried our marriage.
Jeff, pleasure to be co-hosting with you today.
Wonderful. Good to be here.
Who carried the relationship intellectually? So grab your shoes.
I dropped something.
And for the audience to remember, it's the male shoe represents Samuel, the female shoe represents Genevieve. So eyes closed. And who carried the relationship intellectually? Go. Open your eyes. No, you can put it up. No. You put that down, Genevieve. She didn't know, but
Who did she put?
she just put herself. She put herself. That's a strong kiss tooth right there,
Sorry.
folks. That's a strong kiss
My daddy
tooth.
told me to bet on myself. My goodness.
But I will give her. She did have a grimace on her face.
I did. I was like,
She's like, but Samuel broke the mold. He broke the mold, and he said, "No, this. I know the game is one or the other, but I can't. I can't say anything other than bold." So, do you want to change, Genevieve? I saw you put up both after.
You know what? There can't be two winners.
Yes,
right?
you can.
It's like- no,
Yes, you can.
no, it's like a race.
But
There
when
has
you're-
to be that point
But when you're
1
one,
second
when the two become one,
by a nose.
technically it's one winner.
It's like by a nose, though.
Oh, maybe we're getting into
And this is just her first thought. Maybe
foundational problems.
as a result of,
But it's,
like, this is just her first instinct. Maybe as a result of my intellectual superiority, she'll change her mind by the end of this podcast. So
Yes, or at least pulling your weight equally. It's like so. But if it was carried completely by her, I'm sure it will become apparent over the next
indeed.
moments. Okay, so what does it mean to carry a relationship intellectually? I mean, especially if you're carrying it by yourself, Genevieve. What do you think it means?
Right. Oh my goodness. So no, I wouldn't say I carried it by myself.
Well, you did.
It wasn't alone.
You did say that. Yes.
But yeah, that's true. I did.
no, but
But more,
gun
it's
to your
more
head,
like it's
Who-
who did it better?
Right.
No, kind of, or who did it more? It's like if I did 51%, he did 49.
Okay.
If,
It was
yeah.
it was like a really
Hypothetically.
hard. It's a really hard decision.
Okay, so your
know?
premise of the game was if I'm at 51, he's at 49, then I should put up my
Yes.
shoe. Okay. So what percentage would you put it at?
Yeah, it was probably around there, like 55, 45.
55, 45. Well, you can do math too. I think, so that's good.
There you go.
We're
Intellectual.
Still at 100.
Listen.
Okay. So what does that mean to you to carry a
Um.
marriage intellectually or relationship?
Yeah, I think it's really employing all of our ideas about what it means to make smart decisions, what it means to make smart decisions about our lives, and particularly within the relationship and aspects of the relationship. And so when you get into relationship, you get into marriage, you have to make decisions about where to live and where to spend your money, and when to visit whoever, and how to conduct ourselves, how to speak with one another. I think all of those components are part of carrying a relationship intellectually. So going through the thought process of making a decision to act or to do something. So I think
Which is interesting.
it's not
'cause
just math.
In my brain went somewhere else with intellectually. I'm curious
Mm-hmm.
to hear, Samuel, what does it mean to you when you're thinking of carry a relationship intellectually?
So I've said this in previous episodes. There's a growth element, and then there's a maintenance element. So intellectually, how do we make sure that our relationship is maintained, that the way that we think is healthy, and then how do we make sure we're growing and going in a positive direction? That's how I would personally define it.
Okay. So
where does your brain go?
My brain went
Yeah.
to just the relationship side of things. If this person is intellectually stimulating to me, and if we're challenging each other, if we admire each other, if we're inspired by each
Yeah.
other, like the way you think.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, that's where I went generally. So, but yours,
Okay.
I would have defined yours more as almost responsibly, in terms of making rational, responsible decisions. As opposed to intellectual. I was just thinking more on the stimulation level
Yeah.
of like
Yeah.
chemistry.
Yeah.
Genevieve and I think this is a fundamental way that we think differently, and it's not necessarily a huge problem, not even necessarily a problem at all. But she's more like, well, what are the results? And I'm more like, well, what's the theory behind it, right? I see validity in both theory and results, and Genevieve derives more value from
Process
outcomes.
and
Yeah.
results.
Okay, so yeah, different way of breaking it down. But
Yeah.
to me, and Jeff, would be interested to hear your take, just even knowing Samuel better than me. But to me, I've found you both to be very excellent in your presentation, and also very you'd range on the side of deeper thinkers, like able to hold strong intellectual conversation and engage in that way. And I would have thought that would have been a strong connection point for you two to begin with. Was that not the case?
Yes, it was the case.
Was it the case?
Yes, it was, and it was the case for you too. It was the case. It was mutual. Like whatever she says after this may be different than what I'm saying, but the truth is that.
Are you bullying me into agreeing with you? Is that what's happening here?
Wait, he's going off the basis that you said earlier off camera that you've compartmentalized certain memories. He said you just lost track of those memories.
Those memories are gone, long gone. Yeah, I definitely think that's the case. I think I always go back to Samuel's presentation, and he just is very eloquent with his words and how he presents ideas and thoughts. Very like clever, witty, funny. So I think I enjoy that, and sort of going back and forth, bantering back and forth and whatnot. It's fun. It's always been fun, and it is fun. And so I definitely attribute that to intellectual stimulation, and compatibility for sure. Was it? I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much it factored in to sort of decisions, but certainly the decision to spend time and to continue to have great conversations.
Yeah, and the maybe not in the breakdown, but in the lead up, and
Yes.
the fact that you guys got married, that would be something you'd be checked on a box. It's like, oh man, I enjoy conversation.
Yes.
And, you know, we think deeply. It's not like a boring conversation, like that type of stuff. So
like, we're gonna spend a lot of these podcasts talking about things I did wrong and areas that I'm weak. So let's just spend a few minutes and talk about an area that I personally think is an area of strength for me.
For sure.
And that's
For sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll give my approval to that.
like I think the part of the reason we connected as strongly as we did was that we could talk for hours. We, our first date started as a coffee date and ended at like 5 a.m.
Samuel's very, very smart. Right?
Very.
As is Genevieve.
Oh,
Very.
absolutely. I was gonna my 2 cents is you're both very good thinkers, and so you wouldn't have one person carrying the relationship intellectually, like one's passive and one's active. You would both be.
Absolutely.
But that's what can be. I mean, my relationship with Samuel is like both of us are yep, right, constantly. The problem is, we find areas of disagreement, and then the question is, how do we navigate differences? And you've spoken earlier about having kind of agreement on fundamental presuppositions. Okay, well, at least we're Christian, so hopefully we're not arguing about like basic stuff. Although one time we argued about something pretty basic, but I
You know what it's talking about? No.
I won't say what it was.
Okay.
What was it?
What?
Let's say it.
No. But no, by and large, I mean, Samuel and I have had a strong relationship over 20 years. of navigating issues that we often see very differently. I actually think it can be exemplary in certain ways, because many people would have just said, you know, like, I can't be friends with this person.
Absolutely,
We disagree too much.
Mhm.
And the more you turn your relationship just into like texting and chatting with your fingers with one another, it's easier to get into arguments. So we've always made sure as well, even though we sometimes live far apart, we get together, we see each other face to face,
Yeah.
and we share our thoughts in person. But our relationship, I don't know if you would say this, is primarily 51%, 90% intellectual in terms of getting together and thinking. I mean, we're not like, we never played a sport together.
Mhm.
We don't have like similar hobbies. You know, we're not like on the same swim team or tennis team or whatever. I don't play any sports. I hate
Tennis.
sports. I've never watched a sports game in my life. I think for
Yeah.
a living.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Let's take a second and imagine Jeff and I on the same swim team. Let's just, what world would we have to be in for that to be our reality?
That's really hard to.
But I
imagine.
know Samuel as a robust, rigorous, critical thinker.
Absolutely.
And he's actually, he has a reputation for his thinking abilities, even causing, you know, sometimes people don't like critical thinkers. We cause trouble. We ask questions.
Disruptors, yeah.
We'll stand up in front of 20 or 50 people who've all agreed on something and say, but wait, I don't agree. And so Samuel and I freely disagree, but then, you know, I can imagine that I don't think you're much different.
No.
You know? So
I don't think that's ever been an issue, though,
put
when
the
it
two
comes
of you
to
together, and yeah, you're gonna chat till 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And hopefully not have any major disagreements. So I don't think intellectually that would have been the reason you got divorced.
No, and I don't think so either. I think when we have the conversation on this level, I think of putting the intellect towards something. So how do you use the way that you think to make decisions about the way that you live?
Yeah.
And so how do you use the way that you think to make decisions about the way that we live in marriage with one another?
Yeah. For us, it's an end in itself, right? I mean, we just
in terms of just being able to
think just for
pontificate
fun.
and think.
For fun.
Yeah. Well, and again, that's where the aspects of addiction come in, and there's irrational decisions that don't
Right.
add up to the intellect that
Exactly.
you operate with in so many other
Right.
areas.
So
yeah.
that's where I'm going with it, because
that's
I'm like, it has to be for something. There needs to be like a means to the end. Like, why are we so intellectual, and why are we
Sure.
critical thinking? Why are we, you know?
Yeah.
It's like we're doing it about something, and if we're talking about the relationship, I sort of lean.
Well, jumping back to the macro for a moment, then we'll get there. Is should intellectual growth and stimulation be shared, a shared responsibility? Intellectual growth and stimulation.
100% yes.
Simple answer, I think.
Yes.
100% yes.
And I mean, I think it's straightforward, but we could say why or why not. I mean, why do you think why?
I know I said yes, but I'm actually going to say not necessarily.
Okay.
I think that as humans, we should be growth oriented no matter what we're doing.
Yeah.
But intellectual stimulation and growth, I don't think is absolutely essential. I think you can have a married couple that can be happy and can thrive when one person's focus is on intellectual growth and the other person's just maintaining and their focuses are elsewhere. I think that's a possible framework for a healthy marriage as well.
Yeah, I think anything's possible in theory. I think that gets old really quickly. I think you need to have someone that you can rely on to grow with you. We weren't married long enough to see the different stages and, you know, phases of married life. But I have worked with a lot of couples who've been married for a long time, and they talk about their capacities when it comes to intellect or, you know, intellectual stimulation. Like if one person is bored with the conversation, or they're looking elsewhere.
And I don't
they're
think
looking to get stimulated outside, but it could be an affair. It could be, you know, hey, I can have great banter with that girl at work, and, you know, we can, you know, have sexy talk or have a little flirtation, and my wife doesn't do that for me. And so I feel like that's a little bit boring.
Now, that's not necessarily fall into the realm of intellectual
No,
conversation.
but what I'm saying, but it does on some level, because it's like if you don't feel like you can have a conversation with your spouse, or things are boring, or you're just not being stimulated in that way. You guys can't do things together. Your interests are, you know, elsewhere, and you guys have nothing that crosses over. Like, I mean,
no, but I think
on some level you're gonna.
I think the more that you have in common that you can do together and agree on and enjoy together, the better, right?
Yeah.
But it's also okay if some things you don't share. right?
I agree
hobbies,
with that,
some
but we're
purposes.
talking about when it comes to intellect, when it comes to being able to spar, when it comes to being able to have conversation, to talk.
like table conversation.
Yeah,
type
like
of
you're
stuff,
sitting at the
yeah.
dinner table. What happened today? Oh, went to work. It was fine.
I just,
Like, you know what I mean? Like, have something and have something that you're doing, that you're aspiring towards, that you're passionate about, that you're
The way you the lens through which you see life.
absolutely.
I think the issue here is that
attractive,
you're
yeah.
talking through the lens with which you see life. And that was terrible grammar. But I think the principle, like, I don't think you can imagine a world where you wouldn't want to be talking to your husband. And I think plenty of marriages can thrive without much conversation. Not can thrive without much.
Survive.
No, I would even
No,
go so
thrive.
far as to say as thrive. So,
Okay.
for example,
Without
I
much
spent
conversation.
yeah.
Somebody put some comments in the chat, because I need to know about who's thriving out there with no conversation.
I will give you an example. So I have somebody who I consider to be a mentor. He lives in Manila in the Philippines, and he started an organization called Companion with the Poor. The foundational principle is that those of us who are more affluent or have more resources, we need the poor as much as they need us, right? They need us for resources and for information, for education, and we need them for humility and to expand the way that we see the world. So I went down there and I spent a few weeks with him and with his organization, and I learned a lot. One of which was I met a lot of people who were nonverbal. The way that they functioned and operated their life was not conversation-based in the way that myself as a Westerner, I can't imagine. As you said, our relationship is based primarily on conversation, Jeff, right? Genevieve, our connection was initially based heavily on conversation. That transitioned us from just people who knew each other to people who could actually spend quality time together significantly.
But you weren't married to these people you're observing.
But I lived in their homes. I saw them, like I spent time with them.
So you witnessed them in their relationships?
Yeah.
Being nonverbal?
Yes, actually. Both in terms of just, yeah. Like, and I get that it sounds strange, but my point is that the people who are talking on a podcast are more verbal people. We value conversation.
Yeah.
We value connection through conversation.
Yeah.
However, I have, even in North America, I have friends who what they're looking for in a wife is she's got to be hot. And then she's got to be, they've got to, exactly. They don't want,
some of us talk
their
too much.
Conversation energy, they focus on their career or with their boys. They don't need that and they don't want that in a spouse. And if she is the same, if she doesn't want that, if her conversation energy is fulfilled elsewhere, what's to say that they're not going to be happy? If they have enough in common that they can do together that they both enjoy.
Well, I
have
mean,
no issue with that.
It's still the hypothetical of what I'm looking for, not what I found and am 30 years into the mix with and I'm happy with. Most guys, when they're looking, that's part of the problem is they don't know what to look forward to. That's what's going to sustain a healthy relationship. Because I definitely have heard of guys who had a wife who was hot, who was a 10, and everybody saw him from the outside, but they were miserable inside because that's all that was there at the time. And so it's like, so the intellectual aspect, the friendship aspect, which really you get into the sexual side of things, is very minimal when it comes into an everyday relationship. As to how much of the relationship it comprises. The intellectual side is very high, right? The emotional side is very high in terms of just the day-to-day interactions and somebody that you could actually call a best friend. So it is. I think it's one of those things of it's not what people are looking for. It's more where the results lie in terms of statistics,
right?
And North America is not a great place to look at in view of successful, long-standing relationships. But there is ones that can be found, and those questions can be asked. Okay, so let's get into your relationship. During your marriage, how did intellectual connection play a role in your relationship? I think we've covered that to a certain degree, but did one of you take more responsibility for fostering this? And think the build-up, not just in the 1 year, but think the build-up of the relationship, the culmination being marriage.
Thank you all for joining us today. Make sure if you haven't that you like, follow, share, subscribe. We'd love to have you, and we'll see you again soon.
Next time.